Welcome to Unfinished Business, the podcast where we get real about the ups and downs and breakthrough moments behind building a business and what is still left unfinished in that journey. I'm your host, Kimberly Griggs, and today I am excited to sit down with Britt Frank. She is the marketing director for the prestigious firm Gimble Riley, Gerwin and Brown. Britt brings a rare blend of legal insight and creative strategy to one of Wisconsin's top law firms. From managing the brand's reputation to driving client engagement in a heavily regulated industry, Britt's role is really the intersection of law, communication, and how you build trust with clients. So today we are going to talk about the power of brand clarity, building community trust, and why marketing a law firm is very different from selling just about anything else. So I'm really excited to dive in and visit more with Britt. Britt, thank you for being on the show. We're excited to have you.
Oh, thanks, Kimberly. That was an amazing introduction.
Good. Well, to get started, to kind of kick things off, tell us a little bit about how your career began in legal marketing.
Absolutely. I mean, as many careers do, this is not where I saw myself starting. Education background, a million years ago, not to age myself, went to undergraduate for broadcast journalism, was a reporter for a very short amount of time. I wasn't really sure when I knew that I didn't want to do that. Exactly what I wanted to do. I thought about law school. I thought about grad school. I actually ended up working at a nonprofit, a legal nonprofit, and I went to grad school for nonprofit management. So that was wonderful because for 15 years, I was able to kind of marry my two loves together because I did love the law, but I'm just such a big, I want to help everybody and I love nonprofits. And I was able to do that through graduate school and through where I work. And then, things changed with the economy and I was feeling a little bit of a burnout. And luckily, because I had worked in the legal community for so long, I knew a lot of attorneys in town. And this one group that I'd known forever that I always just thought were the best people, they reached out and they said, we've done this great job for 45 years of building the firm on networking in person, kind of old school handshakes and three fingers of whiskey type strategy, which is amazing. But with the new generation coming up and it being so tech heavy, and we have absolutely no experience in that, we have nothing put in place for it, and we need help there. Would you come help us with that? And I said, I mean, I don't know anything really about marketing. I've been doing nonprofit stuff. And they said, that's okay. You seem fun. So I said, I love that. Let's give it a shot. So they brought me over now almost 10 years ago, and it has been phenomenal. Very serendipitous.
Yeah, it's weird how that moment kind of came full circle for you, taking a blend of both worlds and tying it into this very dynamic, as I imagine it to be, a role. What has been the biggest learning curve? So you mentioned technology. What's been the biggest learning curve for you stepping into this type of marketing?
You know, I am a firm believer that marketing is all about knowing your people, knowing your audience, and just really putting yourself in their shoes, which I am. I'm an empath through and through. So that's not an issue. I think just marketing as a whole, having no formal education or anything else in it. And, at the nonprofit, I would do minimal marketing on the atypical shoestring budget.
Yeah.
But now to actually have that be my focus and having some resources to work with, which is nice, but then wanting to make sure that they go to the right place, just learning from the ground up. I already knew the lawyers in Milwaukee, but making sure that I knew how to reach the people. And the good news is I did know the background of the firm that I came to. I knew the people here and I knew that we all had the same thing in mind. We love Milwaukee, we love the people of Milwaukee, and we want the best for them. And, that goes through the entire state. But
Yeah.
our offices are right in downtown and our founders have done so much for building the community through boards and sponsorships and connections and everything like that. So that was such a wonderful fit. But, with marketing, it's kind of where do you start?
Yeah, exactly. Where did you start?
Yeah. Well, and we're a full, so, just to make it even more fun. we're a full service law firm. So we essentially do almost every area of law. We have this incredibly talented team that are in groups that they work together. So, very great criminal defense team that does a lot of high profile, very serious cases, high net asset divorce team. We have a very brilliant civil litigation team. Everybody here is all about going to trial if that's what the client, would like, and that's what's best to get them the results.
Yeah.
Because we just, we're not going to walk away and take, the easy way out. We're going to fight for the clients. All the values were aligned, but getting that message out, especially, I'm sure all marketing is competitive. Any product is. There's not a standalone product, but with lawyers, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people just kind of yelling in the same room to be heard to a small group of people. And I'm trying to yell to each group of them, not just the personal injury cases or not just the divorce. I want to have everybody in Milwaukee know about us because we handle everything. So we could basically be the law firm for any person. So
Yeah.
incredibly exciting, but also incredibly hard to know where to focus and to put your resources, boo hoo hoo. So basically, first, I did start with just kind of things that needed to happen. They had just started working on getting a website. Again, this is about 10 years ago. So, and I feel like a lot of law firms were a little, hesitant or even compared to other industries late to the game in
Yes, I agree.
building a technology presence. Hesitation there. A lot of places were used to getting their clients from word of mouth, but it's just a necessary thing. And obviously, there's so much you can do with it and be helpful with it. It's just another great way to push out a bunch of very important, necessary information to people that they should know, whether it be about their rights when they get stopped by the cops, or what to do when you're thinking about filing for divorce, or even if you're involved in a car accident, how to react and what to say and what to not say. These are just
Yeah.
basic things that people should know just to help themselves the most. So obviously building the web presence was incredibly important. Our website is my baby. It's been refreshed many times and, I'm just constantly obsessing and adding to it. At the time, there was no social media anywhere for the firm. So of course we got on all of the necessary platforms and now we have a big presence, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google My Business, Reddit, even WhatsApp and Snapchat and TikTok, because there's all different people that go onto all of these different social media sites. So you really have to be able to be in front of them all. And then it was just even more community building, being out in the media, having people do, speaking engagements and, very noteworthy pro bono work. Basically anything that we could do that really got us in front of the community.
Yeah.
So it was just a process that I did a little bit at a time. So finally, a decade later, we're in a pretty good place, but things are constantly changing. Now, just when I got a handle on, because getting to know SEO and Google AdWords and PPC and how the algorithms work, and these are all things that I had to learn from scratch, writing
Mhm.
blog posts, making them, relevant and work together with all that. Right when I think I finally have a handle on something, now we have AI breaking through, and that's just a whole new animal to learn. So it keeps it interesting, but it's just going to keep evolving. So staying as much on it as you can, I think, is just the best you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So take me back to those first few years. You've got this big task in front of you laid out before you, like understanding intuitively that you have to be everywhere essentially, but we can all only bite one, take a bite of an elephant one bite at a time, right? So what was your kind of method to the madness? Take me back to those first few. What were the first few steps that you put in place, and how did you go about it for those that have no practice or that still are behind the game in terms of their marketing? Walk us through those first few baby steps.
Absolutely. I mean, the number one essential thing that anybody has to do, no matter the level, the industry, anything, to me is you have to dig deep into, every aspect of the firm, every aspect of the people who work there, and get to know all of them. And you're not going to be able to market, efficiently, correctly, or with passion unless you really know the business and more specifically the people. So my ground zero first step was I scheduled meetings with every person in the firm, had very long sit downs. I'm sure they probably found them annoying, but they humored me. And I really got to know everybody and not just on what area of law do you practice? Okay, this is what you're doing right now. Is there something that, just really is something that you feel passionate and you want to delve into a certain area of law, even if it's not, something that you're doing right now, something that we can train you on. I wanted all of the staff, the attorneys, you know, everyone to be happy. So getting to know where they were at, obviously getting to know their likes and dislikes. Do you like giving presentations? No, you're not a public speaker. Fine. Would you prefer to write? What are your hobbies? We had an attorney that was very health oriented, nutritious, vegan, and it was a big thing in his life. And so I was like, well, let's merge some of these. So he became essentially Milwaukee's vegan lawyer.
Love that.
Just
Love that.
and that made things, very enjoyable for him. And then, clients would see him, at somewhere at Vegan Fest or, wherever. And then, they had something in common. It's an automatic kind of connection. So, and I, obviously people are more than their jobs. And I think especially with lawyers, people want to know, the people who are hiring them want to know that they're people. And
Absolutely.
I
Have a
think
conversation with me.
exactly. And one of the biggest, I think, I know, legs up and the positives of our firm is that we are very non-judgmental. We completely understand, no matter what your situation, everyone has had their things, made mistakes. Everyone's entitled to good representation. So we are just not the type that when you walk in, you're going to feel judged or intimidated. We want people to feel that they can trust us, which they can. And, we offer the best representation when we can really get to the meat of the situation. And you can only do that if people are going to feel secure enough to trust to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And we're really good at that. So, and our personalities, we have big personalities here, but people love that.
Yeah.
So, that's been something that's been really easy and fun to market. We have the strategies and the brilliance of the large firms, but, maybe without that large of a price tag and without the intimidation. Much more approachable and, to put you at ease, which is very helpful. So, again, long story long, to get back to your original question, I did not stop just getting all of the information that I could about the firm itself, the history, and every single one of the people until I felt that I could truly represent us in a way that the firm deserved. And people can take a job, and I understand that. But unless you really feel passionate and know what it is you're pushing, it's going to come off as disingenuous. And that just doesn't work. So
Yeah. So it's interesting that you took a deep dive into getting to know everyone and then finding particular interests that might align with this subgroup and then sort of use that to brand them personally. So while you were building this larger presence, what I'm hearing is that the strategy was really to go uniquely in on each individual within the firm to represent this big showcase. Is that correct?
absolutely. And I mean, then the job just kind of started to do itself in that then when I knew the
Really?
people, you know, I knew certain awards to nominate them for that they'd be a good fit. And, there's free publicity right there, free things to push out to the press. I also, it helped me put together what I wanted the website to look like because I wanted it obviously to reflect our personalities and our great services. So then, once I knew the place so well, and I also just honestly, I put myself out there to do any job needed. I mean, even though obviously we hired for marketing, I helped out everyone. If something needed to be done, our refrigerator here broke. I ordered a new one. Whatever needed to be done, just to truly, show I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And I want to show that I'm a team player and I want people to trust me to open up to me. So basically taking on whatever needed to be done, showing people that I truly was invested and I truly care, which also made them enthusiastic. And that's helpful, especially when you need them to do favors for you, like write articles or go to an event, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
More likely to do that. And, again, once I knew them, I knew what event somebody would want to go to and another one that somebody wouldn't because it's just not their thing.
Yeah.
It just was so helpful in rolling out all of the next steps. And I felt confident doing it because I felt like I had a good handle on who we were, who the people were, what our people who were actually doing the real work for the clients wanted to help with, and then how to target that.
Yeah. What do you think, in your own words, describe the mission of GRGB?
Absolutely. So GRGB started in 1968 by Frank Gimble, again, probably the ultimate Milwaukee who's who. He's my idol. And, he just took this firm that he originally started with his brother, who unfortunately passed away at a very young age, and then brought on three other of the name founded partners that he had met obviously in the legal community, knew their background, knew that they were great lawyers, knew that they all kind of meshed together. And they just started building from there. So right off the bat, it was very, I know it can be looked not well upon when people say it's like a family, but these were definitely people that got along, had outside of work relationships. Their families knew each other, go on trips together, that kind of closeness right away. And it was helpful because, these are four different lawyers from four different backgrounds, but they work together on so much that they kind of, you don't just have one great lawyer. You basically have the minds of four. And so
Right.
that kind of mentoring and team mentality has really carried GRGB through. We're definitely not a place where people come to work and disappear into their office and you don't see them until, they're running to their car. Everyone's out and about all day, bouncing ideas off of each other and, talking, what do you think of this strategy? Or like, this situation happened. What is the best way to, show what their true story is, what really happened? And that's how these ideas that just they come up with them, and I'm just always amazed. But it's a collective group. It's not just one individual. So I would say our mission is basically representing Wisconsin and showing the people of Wisconsin that we do truly care. We're not here to just, get you in and out and hopefully get a dollar out of it. We want you to leave the office in a much better place than when you walked in, no matter what you're here for, even if that's putting together your estate plan and putting your mind at ease there. Or, yes, unfortunately, if you were injured in a car accident or you're having a business litigation situation, we want to do that for you. We want to do it as a team. And we just want that to be able to kind of flow out to, every employee here, every client that comes in, and then the ripple effects of their life as, their life is better. Hopefully that helps their family and, their work and everything like that. Doing good is a ripple effect. And
Yes.
that's why it's so important.
Yeah. Well, those are definitely things that I would imagine you can see represented in the community when you sponsor different events or you're a part of, nonprofit or service oriented things and things that you can showcase. And that goes a long way to building trust. But my question is a little more granular. How do you take that trust and apply it to all of these different outlets and all these different content forms? How do you as a marketer, and I know there's challenges within that space, but do you as a marketer, I guess, tweak each platform to bring that message a little more coherently so that when somebody sees you online before they even call, they have a feeling that they trust you already?
Yeah, absolutely. I obviously put the important things of, awards or big benchmarks, milestones, big cases won, things like that. I mean, our firm is in the press a lot for a lot of different things. And obviously all good things, which is helpful because most people do have some sort of background about us. Or if they do a quick Google search, it's not just they're going to find our firm website and that's it. They're going to see a lot of different blurbs, articles, you name it, from a lot of different trusted sources. So, I think that puts some legitimacy behind it right away. Obviously, I might be a little bit more casual on TikTok with some of the things that we post, trying to speak more to the people using that platform of, we just did this for the Humane Society, things like that. With LinkedIn, it might be more, we just helped this business, that was around for 50 years and unfortunately got taken advantage of by, some outside source, stay in business for another 50 years, depending on what people want to hear. A lot of things I honestly think that we do resonate with all ages, demographics. So I will put it across all of our mediums.
One particular message across and syndicated in all the different areas.
Absolutely. And, maybe I'm too close to the product and I just think it's all relevant. But I'd say one of the most helpful things has been, again, we're all encouraged, and myself included, to go out, serve on boards, be a presence, volunteering in the community. And we've kind of gotten to the point now where I get calls from, small nonprofits saying, oh my gosh, this situation just happened, whether it be a legal thing or the lights went out in our park and, now our inner city children can't practice football there. Somebody told me, call you. And every time I'm like, yep, we're going to help. And we just find a way. And then, good attention and things like that. Not that that's the reason, but, those things follow, which is just nice in the way that then other people know that they can call us for help.
Yeah, I love that. You're showing up to serve first and foremost, and the rest sort of takes care of itself because, like you said, it creates reciprocity. People want to give you credit when you show up to help them. Can you share a time you'd mentioned, this example of the power went out and now kids don't have a place to practice? Share a time where GRGB communicated or showed made a lasting impact in the community that really just blew your mind.
Yeah. Well, and actually, this one is just kind of interesting and not specifically nonprofit related, but I will say incredibly community related. So, when our Milwaukee Bucks, which another great thing about Wisconsin is, because we have, even though all the large city kind of great things like theater, restaurants, or everything like that, people still think of Wisconsin as just kind of a small place. And so we are very near and dear to our sports teams. And when the Milwaukee Bucks were in the championship, this was obviously just huge, not just for Milwaukee, but for the entire state. And I personally don't even know the last time that happened. And, not a huge sports person myself, but love for the teams. And you can't help but get caught up in the excitement, especially it was just this awesome thing that in Milwaukee, obviously, we're working through issues of making sure that it's completely inclusive and that people, aren't separated by any sort of demographics or anything else. Like it's all about bringing everyone together, and sports just naturally do that. And so when they were in the championships, the Phoenix Suns, they had bought some billboards right in downtown Milwaukee by our Pfizer, which was also very exciting. Brand new Bucks Arena with like a whole community just surrounding it. It's like a little city in itself,
Yeah.
promoting the Phoenix Suns. And people were not happy about that. So, I was thinking about it, and actually a friend had said to me, and she was just like, man, someone needs to do something about those. And I was like, you're right. Why aren't we? And, sure enough, I just drove past one. I saw the billboard sign Lamar on it, who does the billboards. I looked their number up online. I called and I said, how much longer do the Suns have that billboard for? And it was going into game 6. And that was their last day of it. And they're like, it's open now. And I was like, well, I know what we're doing.
Absolutely. What an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, it was, and then it just kind of like caught on of like, hey, Phoenix, we fixed your billboard. and it went everywhere. And then actually Phoenix, there was kind of this very friendly, back and forth between, their billboards and ours, and it became nationwide.
Oh, yes.
Just from, renting this billboard for 6 days, for, 1,500, and we just got a lot of feedback from the community. Like, it just brought everyone together. Like, forget them. Yeah, that's who should be up on that billboard.
Yeah.
Finding opportunities, anywhere you can.
Absolutely. What marketing strategies or platforms do you find that are actually working best for not just GRGB, but other law firms that you talk to or work with?
Absolutely. And I mean, I speak with other law firms or the other marketing legal directors in the city. There's no need for competition here. Everybody brings their own sets of strengths that other people don't have. And, there's enough to go around. And I don't understand when people are so, hold the cards close to the chest, because if we can all help each other, that's just for the better. But so, yes, we talk about this a lot. Obviously, I have to say, the keywords, coming up on Google, whether that be organically or, LSA ads, sponsored, you're doing the backlinks, whatever you got to do. Google is king. We went from probably, well, 90% of our clients coming in through word of mouth, and 10% just through kind of random other means, to now we're at about 65% through the web, and then the rest either still a lot from returning clients, or previous clients and other lawyers, which also is, a reason to have good relationships.
Yeah.
But we've just seen such an influx in the last, especially 5 years, of those referral sources changing where they're coming from. And it just is. I mean, unless maybe you're in a smaller town or something like that, I just think for everything there's just got to be that Google social media presence.
Yeah. What are some things that you actively do in regards to that space that has increased that representation of, people finding you or leads?
Yeah, I try and always be as, kind of open-minded, and I ask people a lot. I mean, especially I always have my thumb on the pulse of the firm, because, we don't have every resource in the world to invest in every word, or even compete with some firms that maybe solely do PI and can spend a very lot amount of money on certain words. So I have to get creative, and I'm always asking people, you know, if this situation happened to you, what would you search or what would you ask Siri? And luckily, since I do know the kind of cases, that our people want to get, or if our criminal team's in trial for the next 3 weeks, I will shift some of our resources to a different area of law. I mean, the keywords are played with all the time, because I want to keep every area of law, with things coming in, but I can't pay for terms in 15 different case types.
Yes.
It's seeing, okay, who's finishing up a trial, who might have some open time that we could bring in some good new stuff. What else is going on? Did we add a new person? They want to get into this. Let's, make sure we're focusing on those words. And I'm just constantly going for the terms that I think are what's going to pop in people's heads.
Yeah. And so are you producing content around those terms, or talk to me about the practice of what you do specifically when you find a niche?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, blogs immediately push out, at least 3 to 5 of them a month. And then obviously, targeting those certain topics on social media, things like that. I'll just also search for relevant things going on in Wisconsin that could pertain to that, which is really helpful because we have a very wonderful professional licensing team. So they specifically, if someone who has a professional license, from being a doctor to a nurse to a chiropractor or a dentist or a real estate agent, Anyone who needs a professional license to do their career in Wisconsin, if they either get in outside legal trouble or something happens that maybe a client files a complaint against them or something like that, we have a pretty strict professional services kind of board in Wisconsin that will make sure that they investigate, and then the person with the license needs legal help to make sure that they can figure it out, do whatever remedy they have to do. It maybe it's treatment, but so that they can hopefully continue on with their career. So for things like that, there's certain times that maybe nurses' license every year have to be renewed. We make sure that we are in front of nurses during that time, whether it be through their, website or a, a big CLE or, maybe some sort of event that they're having. Just, kind of staying
Brilliant.
at the
That's a
top of
very
mind.
good
Yeah.
strategy.
So, because I mean, a lot of times you don't think of it too. Maybe someone got a DUI and 6 months ago, but their nursing license has to be re-upped and they don't realize that they have to report it. Well, that is mandatory to be reported. And if you
Yeah.
don't, that could be a world of trouble. So, just knowing that, hey, these things are coming up. We're available. Do you have questions? Hey,
Yeah.
wherever it needs to be. There's a lot of ways to get in front of the people that you want if you just look into it a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm curious a little bit about that, digging in one step deeper in terms of, having to follow so much, caution and compliance in the industry. How do you get away with targeting when you're really not able to target per se a incident, for lack of a better word?
Yeah. And that's where it's helpful to just be constantly out there because, yeah, I mean, if you, you can't just, you hear something happen and, run over or something like that. Getting people to know all of the time, all of the different areas of law that you do so that essentially when something does happen, you're the first person that they think about. And that's hard to do because there's a lot of noise in our heads. And let's be honest, people don't usually want to think about lawyers unless they absolutely have to. So they will do all they can to not think about a lawyer until that 1 second that something happens. They're served papers to go to court or someone's filing for divorce or, unfortunately, a parent passed away and all of a sudden there's a probate case. And then it's, oh my gosh, panic. What do I do? I'm not going to lie, it's tough. And we've had clients that have come to us for one thing. uh, and then if somehow, we hear about something else that happens with them. And, maybe I sent out a client survey or something, how'd it go? What did you think of our services? Please give me feedback. And then they'll say, oh, it was great, but I wish I had known that you did custody because I would have come back to you after my criminal case. I didn't know that. So, that I'm always like, oh, that hurts. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I do our intake process. I try and be with the client through the entire journey because I'm type A and, I have control issues. And then I can make sure that I know, how did the experience go? What can we do better? You're happy with this. Hey, you know that we do all of these other areas, right? So if something happens to your neighbor, you know who to tell them when they're in that moment of panic. They will personally call me. I will put their mind at ease as much as I can. So that's a constant struggle, but I think you just really have to, if you can't afford to be on the TV 24/7 or on every billboard in the city every day of every year. It's starting with the people that will use you and making sure, yes, you keep your content fresh. We try and put out like a lot of free resources, whether it be like white papers or something like that are helpful that maybe people will share. Um, and just doing your best. I like to link up with a lot of people, different relationship things that we can work together on partnership stuff. And even if it's working with another law firm doing a presentation, so that both places are pushing it out, and their existing people are hearing about it. So if something happens that their law firm doesn't handle, hopefully they think of us, and we do. Just everything that you can to let people know, no, I am here for you in that moment that you need it.
Yeah. I hear that you have a lot of tentacles out in the community.
Yeah.
How do you prioritize? What are some tips? What are 3 tips that you would tell someone in your shoes how to prioritize those when all of it's necessary, but where do you begin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would prioritize first getting the web and some sort of Google strategy going, because I think even if somebody hears about you from somewhere else or read helpful tips from you, or, likes the video you put on TikTok, the first thing they're going to do is probably go to your website, even if it's just to get your contact phone number, and they're going to look at it, or they are going to Google, best blah, blah, blah attorney, or, blah, blah, blah attorney near me. So make sure you have a presence there as much as you can. I know it's hard to be on page 1 for everything. Make sure that your website shows them what they need, has your contact information readily available, and is inviting, because no matter what, they're going to look you up. And if it's a turnoff, then they're going to go to the second one on the list.
Yeah.
So I think just getting the web presence as a whole in line is just incredibly important. And then you got to have somebody who is answering the phones that is pleasant to speak to. And you got to make sure that even if no one's available at that moment, someone is calling them back ASAP. Because especially if they have no real personal connection to you, if it's not someone, their mom used you as a lawyer, there's still not a lot of loyalty there. But yes, it's great to get a name and you have an edge up by maybe being the first contact. But if they call you and it's been days, they're going to move on. In my mind, if it's hours, I mean, we have 100% callback rate here. And even if we can't help, which is sometimes the case, we're not a million attorney firm, but I always have a resource or another attorney that I can refer them to. And I'm always happy to do that, because then if something else happens down the road and they think, even if I didn't use them that time, I had a good experience when I called, I'm going to try them again. So you got to be good on the phone and you have to call back. Get that
Yes.
website and web presence, be good on the phone, call back, be nice. And then lastly, I mean, communication is key just in all forms, but I would say really do what you can to just get out in the community and start helping people. I mean, that's ultimately what it's all about. So, and it's going to make the attorney feel better. It's going to make the law firm feel better. It's going to look good. It's going to give you something free to promote. And it's something that everybody should be doing. So those are my top.
I love that.
Yeah.
Where do you see legal marketing headed in the next few years? You had mentioned AI earlier. Where do you think that place is in your business?
Yeah. I mean, I do. I think, technology, there's always going to be a new caveat and a new thing to learn. And I think that's helpful. I do still think, and maybe even more, things are going to shift a little bit back to kind of some old school networking. The times of my founding partners here of getting out of the community and going to events, meeting people, shaking hands. I think after COVID, people really wanted to leave their house again. And I know Milwaukee, we just have so many awesome things going on all the time. And I still think there's a lot to be said to showing up, showing your face, talking to somebody. I know that is the worst thing in the world and terrifying to some people. I am still a big advocate of going in person to events and working the room and introducing myself. And if you say, no, that's impossible, honestly, just have 2 questions to ask people and then just listen, and then you'll leave and they'll think you were the best person ever. Just make sure you leave them your card. So
Yes.
I think it's going to be a shift.
I
I think
actually
it's going to be
love
a
that.
mix.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Britt, because I think a lot of people are so concerned about how they can adapt and get out of the relationship building portion. But I mean, you never know what one relationship can change. And particularly when you are in a business of service, how else do they really get to know you? Which is why I do think that social media platforms, especially video based, at least give a digital footprint of what a taste of that experience might be. But I don't know that it will ever replace the initial interaction of someone. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. Here's to hoping, but I really think it's going to be a good
Yeah,
mix.
right.
And I think people should get used to some face-to-face, interaction again. Especially if you're doing something as emotional and heavy as law. I mean, people's lives are on the line. They're not going to want to do everything over text. Some things, of course, but there's going to be some tough conversations that you need to know how to handle in person.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, a couple of final questions for you. Britt, what is still unfinished for you in your journey as a marketing leader with GRGB and for you personally?
Yeah, absolutely. Always a great question. I mean, GRGB, I love the firm. I love where it's at. But of course, I always want it to just get out there more and more. So, I never think the work is done. And again, even when I'm super happy with the website or what our, presence looks like right now on social media, I'm going to want to refresh it soon and, keep things interesting, see to the future. What is the next, cutting edge area of law? What is something that just passed that, is a new precedent that we can get ahead of, and be kind of the number one go-to for that? We were very on top of that with, LGBT, when marriage became legal and other, family issues. We have a lot of really good knowledge on constitutional rights. So the law's going to always keep changing. Marketing is always going to keep changing. So my goals are basically to just keep changing with it for the good, I hope, and having GRGB just continue to be this great presence in the community. And then for me personally, I have 2 small kids and I'm married and, just keeping my family changing and in a good way as well.
Yes, I understand. I can relate. So I a metamorphosis is what I'm learning.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have the best work-life balance. I am very plugged in all of the time. So I would like to work on that, but it's hard to stop when it's something you love.
Okay, final question, and I love to just end this question asking everybody. So let's just say you accomplish everything as a wife and mom, as a, marketing leader, as a community trusted advisor that you could possibly imagine accomplishing in your lifetime, and you only had 3 pieces of advice to leave the world behind. What would it be?
Do what you love. Don't be too hard on yourself and travel.
I love those. Great lasting thoughts.
Thank
Well,
you.
Britt, I want to thank you very much for sharing your insight and experiences with all of us today. And your work really highlights how marketing can elevate, really bring trust and value. I love, the things that you shared with us about relationship building and not to forget that as the foundation. And so just thank you for sharing, a deep understanding of really what a client experience actually is. So I appreciate your time with us today.
Thank you for having me. Happy to do it. And I appreciate all that you do.
Awesome. Thank you, Britt.